Hello and welcome to the Scattervault channel, and today we're going to be building the best $600 gaming PC in 2024. And I'm going to dub this PC the 1080p gaming PC that is really cheap and won't break the bank, and also still looks pretty cool. So this PC is all thanks to the Ryzen 5 5600 and the Radeon RX 6650 XT. This is probably the best budget 1080p CPU and GPU combo, and we're going to be pairing those up with some really good components that, like I said, will not only run your favorite games at 1080p anywhere from 60 to 240 frames per second, but yes, you can also stream to Twitch, Kick, YouTube with the graphics card or even the CPU in this PC build, as well as do some light editing and productivity work. So if you don't know how to build this PC, don't worry, I will show you step by step how to put this together, how to even install drivers and Windows onto this PC, as well as its 1080p gaming benchmarks and my final thoughts on this build. And if all of this looks really overwhelming and you don't know where to start if you wanted to actually build this PC yourself, I've got a super handy PCbuilds.gg link at the very top of the description that shows you this entire parts list from different retailers so you can get the lowest prices possible if you wanted to build this PC yourself. So that's a really cool website, and there's also a lot of other builds on that website you're welcome to reference if you want to build a PC at any budget. So with all that glazing done, let's get to building. All right, what you're gonna need to build this PC is a pair of scissors, a banana, and an 8GB or bigger USB flash drive for your Windows 11 bootable media device. This is what you'll plug into the PC when you finish building it, you turn it on, and you eventually install Windows. And I have a full tutorial showing you how to create one of these linked in the description below as another YouTube video. Anyways, for the CPU, we're actually going with this. Don't worry though, it's still a Ryzen 5 5600. These right here are the exact same thing. However, you gotta understand that you can pick this up anywhere you want. Amazon, Newegg, Best Buy, wherever. But if you're international or in the States and you wanna get the 5600 on a discount, consider picking up a 5600 from our AliExpress link in the PCbuilds.gg link, where you can snag one of these for $70 brand new. And that's an insanely good value for a CPU that ranked really well in my CPU gaming tier list. And again, like, even if it comes in weird looking packaging like this, still, it's an authentic Ryzen CPU. You see that? It says Ryzen 5 5600. You're good with this, don't worry. Anyways, it's 6 cores, 12 threads, overclockable. It can handle up to like an RTX 4070 and even a 4070 Ti without bottlenecking. And we're pairing that up with an MSI B550M motherboard. Now, you don't need this exact motherboard to make this PC work. It could be one from ASRock, Gigabyte, Asus, or something else. Just as long as it's B550 and it's a micro ATX size motherboard, it will work in this PC. But I like this one because the VRMs on it are pretty nice for the dollar. VRMs is basically how much of a CPU it can handle, which a 5600 is nothing for this motherboard. But if you wanted to upgrade to like an 8, 12, or 16 core CPU in the future, this budget motherboard from MSI will do a pretty good job because of the VRMs. Also, notice this, it's got an onboard USB Type-C connector, which is really cool for under $100. But in the box, if we open this thing up, we've got our IO shield, we will need that. Our Wi-Fi antennas, we will need that. And a handy little quick installation guide. Now, I'm gonna repeat this throughout the build tutorial, but if you are ever given a handy little manual like this, or if it's something that you need to further scan into with like a QR code, please refer to them. These motherboard manuals and manuals for other PC parts are super handy if you don't know what you're doing, if you're a first-time PC builder. They'll show you what to do what with any of these PC components. You just gotta know how to read. Now let's go ahead and install the CPU. So take out your Ryzen 5 5600 and you'll notice there's this tiny little triangle on the bottom left of the CPU. And what that's gonna indicate to you is how to align the CPU properly in the CPU socket. Now, if you also look on the CPU socket, there's a triangle on the top left of the socket, and you're basically gonna wanna line the two up so that way the Ryzen logo here is parallel to this little black piece right here. So open up this latch, drop this in, give it a little jiggle. Once it's all the way in there, press this down. And it should look something like this. Okay, now for the CPU cooler, depending on where you get your Ryzen 5 5600, if you get one from say Amazon, Newegg, or any traditional retailer, this will already come with a stock CPU cooler with thermal paste already pre-applied. And I've got plenty of video tutorials on my YouTube channel showing you how to install one of these onto a Ryzen CPU, whether it be AM4 or AM5, they're pretty much all the same. But if you decide to get your CPU from AliExpress for, like I said, $70, which saves you about $40 or $50 from a regular 5600, you're welcome to pick any aftermarket CPU cooler you want. It can be a single fan air cooler, it can be a double fan air cooler, it can even be up to a 240 millimeter water cooler, which, although this is a $600 build, I am gonna use this because, once again, Enermax sent me like a ton of coolers last year, and this is the final one I haven't used. And we're finally gonna use it in this PC build, get it over with. But otherwise, realistically, an air cooler like this or this is gonna work perfectly fine in the system. And ultimately, whatever I have linked in my PCBuilds.gg link is the cooler I'd recommend to make this a $600 PC build, because the more crazier you get, the more in price you go. So what I'm gonna do now is go ahead and install basically the bracket of my water cooler onto my Ryzen 5 5600. But if you have a standard stock cooler, go ahead and install that right now. You just take off these two black plastic brackets, bolt this thing on, plug in the CPU cooler fan into the motherboard. Same applies if you have a aftermarket air cooler. It's the same steps, just with more steps. Okay, now for our RAM and SSD, I'll go ahead and start with the RAM, or not the RAM, the SSD, because I'm messing with this. We're going with a 1 terabyte M.2 SSD. Now, because this is a $600 gaming PC, what I've linked in the PCBuilds.gg link is a DRAM-less PCIe Gen 3.0 SSD. Now, that isn't the most ideal, but it is $50. It is the most inexpensive SSD I'm comfortable with recommending. But if you can spend at least $15 to $20 more, you can get a PCIe Gen 4.0 SSD with a DRAM controller, which is a fancy way of saying it's insurance for your M.2 SSD, so its read and write speeds are preserved over time. But again, you're welcome to do that. Check out my PCBuilds.gg link, and there you can find more expensive builds that use a DRAM supported PCIe Gen 4.0 SSD I recommend. Otherwise, if you want to hit the true $600 price point of this PC, we do have this DRAM-less controller from KingSpec that's going to do the job. But what will also do the job pretty well, actually, is our 16 gigabyte kit of DDR4 memory that's clocked at a speed of 3200 megahertz with a CAS latency of 16. Now, if you can't get this exact RAM kit, don't freak out. You can get a RAM kit from Silicon Power, you can get one from Team Group, Corsair, G.Skill. You can get one from, if it says DDR4, it's gonna work in this PC. What I wanna make sure is you choose one with a good speed to CAS latency ratio, which 3200 megahertz with a CAS latency of 16 should be really easy to find in 2024. Now let's go ahead and install both of these onto the motherboard. Now check this out. MSI have already shown here for the RAM slots which RAM sticks to put in where first. So we're gonna go ahead and open up slots A2 and B2. So these two slots here that are farthest from the CPU socket with one in between, and we'll go ahead and put in these RAM sticks, which, if you're wondering, the inserts here on the RAM sticks are different sizes. So that means these are only gonna go in one way. Yep, that's gonna line up. Make sure to press down and hear a click. Make sure you're firm with it. And let's do it again for the other stick of RAM. Give it a firm press. There you go. And then for our M.2 SSD, installing this is really simple. In fact, you may have more trouble removing it from the box than actually installing it. We've got this now exposed, but we're gonna go ahead and put this in here. So take your screwdriver. We're gonna wanna use a smaller Phillips head 1 head, because these are smaller screws. Okay, we've got this thing off. Let's go ahead and remove this. Here's our little plastic peel we gotta remove. Now go ahead and take your M.2 SSD. As you'll notice, there's this little notch here on the connector, meaning this is gonna line up one way into the M.2 SSD slot. Once you think it's gonna go in, give it a firm press, like that. And then bring this down, put back on the M.2 heat shield. Gotta line this up correctly so that way you don't accidentally move the M.2 SSD out of its slot. And now we go ahead and screw this back into place. This side is tight. There you go. So for our case, we're using a micro ATX case from Vetru. Guess what? You don't need this exact micro ATX case to make this PC build work. You can use one from Cooler Master, Montech, Thermaltake, Zalman, Lee & Lee. Yeah, you can use one from any. As long as it's micro ATX, it will work in this PC. I just happened to choose this one because it's under $60 and it comes in this pretty cool green design, which I think will look good once we finish building this PC. But anyways, if we look here, oh, look at that, manual. As long as you can read, you can use any PC case you'd like in this PC, as long as it's, again, micro ATX. So here, this shows you how to install like the motherboard, the power supply, some other things like a hard drive if you wanted to mess with that, even the graphics card. Y'all, read the manual. You can even go with like an NZXT case for this PC build, as long as you can read the manual. But anyways, let's go ahead and take off the rear panel here. What do we got? Look at that. Here's our plastic baggie full of opportunities and mysteries, which is a really fancy way of saying this contains all the screws you'll need to bolt whatever you want inside this PC case. So no, you don't have to buy separate case screws and such to use this PC case. It doesn't work like that. If it did work like that, it'd be really annoying to build a PC. But you know, it's 2024, we try to make things easy. And here's our plastic baggie full of screws. We'll be messing with this later, because now let's go ahead and install the motherboard into the PC case. But first, remember that IO shield from earlier? We're gonna need this. We gotta install this into the PC case first before we put in the motherboard. All right, guys, this is really easy. So you have the IO shield, you have a side here with pokey bits sticking out, and a flat side that is flush. We want the flat side that is flush on the outside of the PC case, and the side with pokey bits sticking inside the PC case. Now, as far as what way to orient this, again, just pull out your motherboard, pretend it's in the PC case, and you're like, oh, it's gonna look like this. So let me go ahead and put in the IO shield like this. So bring it in here. And what I like to do is I like to press in one corner, press in another corner. There we go, kind of do this for all the sides. There you go, just make sure it's firmly into the PC case. It looks like it is. Now let's go ahead and install that motherboard. All right, let's go ahead and put the motherboard into the PC case. But first we need to count off how many standoffs we need to cover all of the holes on our motherboard. So if we count, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 holes on the motherboard. And if we go down here to the PC case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 standoffs pre-installed. We have these 2 missing ones we need to go ahead and take care of. And fortunately, inside that plastic baggie full of screws, we are given some additional standoffs. So I'll go ahead and hand screw these in one by one. There we go. Now we can go ahead and place down the motherboard into our PC case. Kind of line it up with the IO shield. That way you know if this is going to be flush with the case. And now with your screwdriver, you're gonna wanna use these screws that you see here on screen. These smaller screws with a little thin ring around the outside. This is what you'll use for the motherboard. And what I like to do is I like to screw these in, not completely tight, but in just enough so they make contact with the thread. That way, when I have all of these screws in place, I'll tighten all of them so there's equal pressure on all sides of the motherboard. Okay, I've got screws pre-installed on all 8 standoffs. So now what I'll do to apply equal pressure on all sides of the motherboard is I'll go ahead and fully tighten in one screw, go to the other corner, tighten this one up all the way, and then go to the other corner, tighten that up, kind of follow this in a crisscross formation across the motherboard. That way you have equal pressure on all sides of the motherboard. All right, I've got that all in. Now let's go ahead and install our power supply. Right after, we go ahead and plug in our one pre-included case fan here in our PC case. Now, when it comes to this case fan, there are 2 parts of it. Here's the actual fan header, which we'll go ahead and take care of later, but here is our ARGB connection for that case fan. This comes with 2 ends. This right here is a female end, and this is a male end. It comes with 2 ends like this. That way, if we want to daisy chain any additional ARGB headers to these, this will be pretty easy then to work with, because you just take your male end, plug it into another female end for another case fan or another RGB peripheral, like if it's a CPU cooler. So that way both of those components are synced with the same RGB, and that way they can just operate off of a single cable. So it'll look something like this, but I'll route these behind the PC case. For our power supply, we're using a 550 watt 80 plus bronze power supply from MSI. This is their Mag A550BN. It doesn't have to be this exact 550 watt power supply. It can be one from Thermaltake, like what I have linked in my PC builds.gg link for less. But either way, this will work. And once again, if we look inside the box right here for the power supply, we're given a power cable. This is what you'll need to eventually plug into the back of the power supply and then into your wall outlet. But also in here is a plastic baggie full of screws that we'll need to mount this into the PC case, which we'll take care of now. So take out your screws, put them somewhere so you won't forget them. Then here's your power supply. Here's the fan. Make sure it is facing down. And we're gonna wanna bring it down here into the PC case. And then to line this up with the PC case itself, take those screws and start screwing in the holes here on the sides of the power supply into the PC case. Okay, and with that taken care of, now let's go ahead and start plugging in all the cables into the motherboards. So right here are our front IO cables. So this is like your power button, your reset button, your USBs, your Type-C. That is all in here. And then after that, we'll plug in our power supply cables into the motherboard. Now, I also need to install the CPU cooler still into the PC case, which is that AIO. I'll go ahead and take care of that after we plug in all of this. But if you have an air cooler or a stock cooler, then that should already be pre-installed. Pretty much proceed ahead. But yeah, let's take care of this. So let's start plugging in our front IO cables, starting with our USB Type-C header, which is gonna go right here where it says JUSB1. Now, if you're wondering where all the individual connections are for these IO cables, they're all found on the motherboard manual. There's a really cool overview that just shows you where each plug is. So even if you choose a different type of motherboard, you can usually identify where your plugs are gonna go in. So for example, here on the USB Type 3.0 header, it could sometimes go like this, or it could go down here, but for this motherboard, it's gonna be down here on the bottom right at an angle, kind of like that. Then down here, we have our front IO headers, which fortunately MSI has listed out all of the individual pins in case you didn't check the motherboard manual, which I'll say again, check out the motherboard manual. That'll show you where goes what in this PC case, including these front IO cables. The most important one of all of these is going to be your power SW pin right here. This is what'll actually let you turn on the PC. So of all of these front IO headers, this is the one you make sure you want to get right. But as long as you take your time, this shouldn't be too hard. The two HD LEDs are going to go down here on the bottom left. Then right above that is going to go the power LED minus, the power LED plus. Then to the right of the HDD LED is going to go our reset switch for our reset button, like so. And then above the reset switch with one pin missing to the right of it is going to be our power SW switch. Again, the layout for this is in the motherboard manual and it's on the motherboard itself. Take your time, it's not that hard. And then finally, here's your HD audio connection. And fortunately, no matter what motherboard brand you choose, or even heck for whatever motherboard you want to go with, the HD audio is universally always going to go on the bottom left, and this will only go in one way. So you really can't mess this up like that. Then for our power connectors, this is really easy. There's only like 3 we have to worry about in this PC build. The first one here being our big chunky motherboard power connector. So you can see there's this little latch here on the connector, and that's going to line up with this little notch here on the motherboard, meaning this will only go in one way, like that. Then here on the top left is our CPU power connector, which we're obviously going to use the CPU cable, CPU power cable that says CPU on it. You really can't miss this, you really can't mess it up. You got a little latch right here that's gonna line up with this notch here on the connector. The 2 and 2 will go together. Make sure you hear that click, done. And then down here, we're just gonna leave our power cables for our graphics card just lying because we'll eventually plug in the graphics card. But if you're wondering what connectors those are, they're the ones that are labeled PCIe because that is PCIe for our PCI Express slot right here, which peel that off because this is where we'll plug in the graphics card, which we'll take care of now, but we gotta put in our AIO first. So give us a few minutes. We also have a standard USB 2.0 header that's different from our 3.0 header for our motherboard. It's gonna go here in either of these 2 USB 2.0 headers that say USB on them. You really can't mess this up. This is also only gonna go in one way, so you won't mess that up like that. Okay, and with our CPU cooler installed, now we can talk about the graphics card choice, which is the Radeon RX 6650 XT. Now, this is in a really interesting spot because I checked with some of my friends who are international, and supposedly they can still get their hands on a Radeon RX 6650 XT like this one from XFX. And reason why I still like this graphics card, even if it's a generation old, is because it's selling for about $220 USD. And that's really nice for a graphics card that has 8 gigabytes of VRAM, because that's appropriate for 1080p gaming. And at that price point, I mean, 8 gigs of RAM, there's nothing really to complain about there. And there's no other graphics card that really comes close to the 6650 XT in terms of price to performance for under $300. Like, if you were to ask me what's the NVIDIA equivalent of the 6650 XT for under 300 bucks, there is none. There's the RTX 3060, but that sells for about $280. And this can be had for straight up about $60 less. So really, this card is in its own class. It's what's gonna deliver those really excellent frame rates at 1080p while allowing us to also stream to YouTube, Kick, Twitch, wherever you want, because this also has some hardware encoders built in if you wanted to use OBS or Streamlabs or whatever streaming program you wanna use to stream to whatever platform you want for your online gaming streaming. So take your RX 6650 XT, remove this little plastic cover here for the PCI Express slot so it's open and exposed. But now we gotta put this into the PC case. So first and foremost, there's this little PCI protector here we gotta take off, so we gotta unscrew this. Now, for the PCI Express slots, we are gonna have to tear them off because this is a budget PC case. So let's see, that's gonna line up with the topmost PCI slot. So we'll go ahead and rip off one of these. Got that. There we go. Now with that, let's go ahead and put in our 6650 XT into the topmost PCI slot like that. Once you have it lined up and you're ready to press this into the PCI slot, give it a firm press. You should hear a click like that. And then for the screws that you'll need, we're gonna need some thicker screws like what you see on screen from that plastic baggie full of a lot of screws. Those are case screws, and we're gonna screw those in right here where the graphics card is. So you may need to lift up the graphics card with one finger. There we go, screw that in. You got one more screw. Let's put back on this PCI cover. All right, and then finally, here is our PCI power cable that I was talking about earlier. We can plug in one of these ends into the 8-pin connector for our graphics card. It really doesn't matter which one you go with. I'll go with this one. Just note there's a little latch here. And once again, this is gonna line up with the notch on the top of the connector. So you can only put this in one way. Give it a firm press, here, click, like that. And with that all done, let's go ahead and turn on this PC and install Windows. After we put in our Wi-Fi antennas, we almost forgot this step. Well, bam. All right, let's install Windows. Okay, to turn this PC on, here's your power cable that came with your power supply. Plug one end into a wall outlet and then the other end right into the back of your power supply. And what's important is when you plug this in, is that you flick the switch from the 0 to the 1. That way it's primed and ready to turn on when you press the power button, but don't do that yet. Because of course, we gotta plug in our graphics card into our monitor through a cable. This can be done through either a display cable or an HDMI cable. It doesn't matter. You can choose whichever one you want. I'm using a display cable for this tutorial. Just what matters is that you plug in one end of the cable into your graphics card down here where your graphics card is, not up here where the motherboard is, and the other end into the monitor. Straightforward. What's also straightforward that a lot of people miss, the power cable for your monitor. Be sure to plug this into your monitor as well. Now, of course, don't forget your mouse and keyboard. That I don't have to explain. But the final thing I will say is that here is our Windows 11 bootable media device, which you can use any 8 gigabyte or bigger flash drive for. Now, again, I have a full video tutorial linked in the description below showing you how to create one of these for free with, again, any 8 gigabyte or bigger USB flash drive. Just once you finish that, make sure you plug this into a USB 3.0 slot into the back of your PC or in the front. All right, and with that, I'm gonna go ahead and press the power button and wait. Okay, if you see something like this on your screen, just go ahead and proceed. Press F1 to set up, or sometimes it'll do it automatically. And then in a little bit, you should see a little circle right here with some dots, and that'll let you know that you made it to the Windows 11 installation screen. As I predicted, there's that spinny circle. And now let's go ahead and install Windows 11. All right, to do this, super easy. Next, install now. Here you can go ahead and enter in a Windows product key. If you have one, like you can get a discounted key from a website like MyCDKS if you'd like. You can either do that, or you can click I don't have a product key. Either is fine. You can always activate your PC later. Choose 11 Home or Pro, doesn't matter. I accept, next, custom. There's our 1 terabyte SSD, next, and you wait. Okay, so once you've made it to here, go ahead and select your country, choose the language of your keyboard, add a second keyboard layout if you want. Here is where you're gonna go ahead and connect to your internet. Now, if you're to Google right now, there are indeed ways to actually bypass this and not have to use Wi-Fi at all when you're installing Windows 11 at this screen. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'll keep things consistent. Although we do have Wi-Fi on this motherboard, the drivers aren't installed for it yet. So I'm gonna use a spare Wi-Fi adapter that I have lying around. I'm gonna put this into the back of the PC, and there we'll have Wi-Fi. But if you also have a router close to the PC, you can connect an Ethernet cable from the back of the PC to your router and connect to the internet that way. But again, you can bypass this internet if you look it up on Google. Here, you're welcome to name your device. I'm not going to. Now here is where you're gonna go ahead and sign into your Microsoft account. So this could be a previous Xbox Live Microsoft account, could be a previous Windows related Microsoft account from a previous PC, or if you don't have one, you can go ahead and create one, but either way, you're going to need to sign in with something or create an account. So if you're given something like this, I guess you can back up from a previous PC, but I'm gonna go ahead and set up as a new PC because this is a new PC build. Here's where you're gonna go ahead and create your PIN. This is what you'll use to sign into the PC every time you turn it on. Now for all of these additional options from here on out, I just say no, or I skip, because all of them are additional processes that could run in the background that could clog up my Windows experience. I want this to be as bare bones as possible. So for all of these future offers and things, I'm just going to go ahead and decline all of them, and I'll meet you guys at the Windows desktop. All right, once you've made it to here, we're gonna go ahead and install our chipset drivers for our motherboard first. So to do that, we're gonna go ahead and look up the name of our motherboard, which is the MSI Pro VHD B550M, or whatever motherboard you chose. Again, as long as it's a B550M motherboard, it will work in this PC build. So I went ahead and clicked on the support, and here we have the drivers and downloads that we can have access to for a motherboard. So we have options for the BIOS, which are pretty neat if you want to update the BIOS, but what we want to go ahead and move to is drivers. So let's go ahead and download the AMD chipset driver, or if you want a handy way of managing all your drivers in a single spot, you can install MSI Center, but that'll also install a few other additional things. But for these B550 motherboards, I like to keep it simple, just with the chipset driver. And if you need audio drivers, you have these as well, plus LAN drivers. And while we're waiting for that, let's go ahead and also look up the drivers for our graphics card, which is really easy. Just type in AMD drivers into Google. This could not be easier. You click on the topmost AMD.com link, and right here where it says Windows 11 and 10 drivers, you can just go ahead and use this auto detect tool if you want, but we already know the graphics card that we're using. We're using a Radeon RX 6650 XT. If we scroll down here, hit submit, and here we should see the Windows 11 version. We can go ahead and install this once I wait for the chipset drivers to install. So here we've got our chipset drivers, and it's really just as simple as right-clicking, extract all, extract, bada bing, bada boom, wha-bam, open this up, click on this. Now let's go ahead and install all of these. Okay, this has successfully installed. I'm gonna go ahead and just close this because now we can go ahead and install our graphics card drivers. I'll go ahead and do the latest one here. Oh, and I would also say under LAN drivers, there's actually the Wi-Fi driver and the Bluetooth driver. So I would go ahead and just download AMD Wi-Fi drivers and AMD Bluetooth drivers. That would be smart to do. Okay, let's go ahead and hit yes. Oh, I double clicked that twice by accident. Install. All right, so our graphics card driver is finished installing. We're gonna go ahead and actually restart the PC because I want you guys to do one more thing in the BIOS. And in order to enter the BIOS, it's as simple as just pressing the delete key on your keyboard when the brand name of your motherboard comes up. Okay, we are in. And this is gonna be pretty easy. We can choose 1 or 2 for our XMP profile. I don't think it matters too much, but if we wanna be picky, we can actually check settings here, OC. Profile 1 and Profile 2 have the same speed, so it doesn't matter which one we go with, but that's pretty much it. Just make sure you have Profile 1, and just because I'm a bit picky, resizable bar is enabled. So we are all good to go. We're gonna go ahead and hit X, save a configuration and exit, yes, and we are done and you're ready to get to gaming. Okay, all right, we're doing CS2. I wanted to kick off with CS2 because, oh my God, we gotta turn off voice. There we go. And you know, while I'm here, let me go ahead and show you guys the graphics settings. We have it set to high settings, and get this, because we have an AMD graphics card, we do have AMD Anti-Lag 2.0 turned on for even lower input latency on our mouse and keyboard. Therefore, I can do this. No one saw that, right? By the way, FPS is in the top left, along with frame times. If you like what you see, great. Oh my God. This PC is pulling its weight, but I'm not right now. Okay. I'm gonna get, oh, there's another one. I'm gonna get yoinked. Oh, okay, I'll take that. Are we coming back? Sometimes I wonder if there's hackers or just like people who know life CS2, you know? I just come on here to do benchmarks with PC build guides. Although so far I'm liking the performance of this 600, did you guys see the like cursor? It was just above his head. That's mine. Oh, that was a good one. Oh, no. Anyways, I made up for my skill right there. Oh! All right, that was 2 good headshots. I enjoyed that. Oh my God. Just let me get one. Oh! We got one. Oh my goodness gracious, that was horrid. PP Bison to end my suffering. There we go. Got one. Can we get another one? Got another one? Hey. The PC is absolutely pulling its weight right now on this game, but let's tax it with some more graphically demanding games, like Baldur's Gate 3. Okay, maybe this isn't the most graphically taxing game you can find on PC, but hey, it's a very popular AAA PC game. Although this may be a $600 gaming PC build, you can certainly still run demanding PC titles. I mean, we could definitely do some harder ones after this, but I want to at least show that you can run overhead RPGs like Baldur's Gate 3. Although we are still in the tutorial, so please forgive me, I've not played through the game much. Oh, but we are gonna see how the PC performs during this cut screen. And by the way, we're using the Vulkan API. If you look at the FPS meter on the top left, and I think we need to choose a harder game. We're getting about 160, 100, and yeah, something FPS. Real quick though, let me go ahead and show you guys the graphics settings that I chose for Baldur's Gate 3. We've got right now AMD FSR 2.2 or upscaling method set to quality. Might as well do ultra quality. Let's make the game look just a little bit better. But for the overall graphics, we are set to high to ultra. That's just what it chose. And we don't need to worry about any of this because we have AMD FSR. And let's see. The game is running extremely well. Can I get some hits on this guy real quick? 110 FPS at 1080p. That is super easy right now for this PC. Okay, cool. I think that's my sign to try a harder game on this $600 PC because we need to stress it even more. And I've chosen Cyberpunk to really see if we can stress this PC. What? We're getting like, nah, okay. So first of all, I was like, let's try some ray tracing. This is on ray tracing low at 1080p. 1080p is the target resolution for this $600 gaming PC. Can we go higher? What happens? Oh. We had some frame stutters loading in, but we're getting about 46, 50. I mean, I thought Baldur's Gate 3 was having a bit too easy of a time running on this PC, but I just wanted to do ray tracing on a $600 PC just to see what happens. And I mean, it's ray tracing on a $600 gaming PC. You get what you pay for. If you want something that is a lot better than this, be prepared to spend more. But nonetheless, actually, you know what? Let's say you didn't care about ray tracing and you just wanted to run the game at ultra settings. no ray tracing. You want just static shadows, static lighting. What frame rate do we get now at 1080p? 90, 89, 87, 90. Okay. Okay, I was not familiar with your game. Wait, really? Okay. So if we go ultra settings, quality, yes, yes, yes. We got frame gen? Yo, wait a minute. Oh, yo, we were, okay. Y'all are about to see, oh, yes, sir. All right, here we go. Frame generation on, oh, okay, we need to restart the game. And here we have frame generation turned on for Cyberpunk. We are at ray tracing medium. Are we even getting that much better of a frame rate than FSR2? I actually don't know. And I can't necessarily turn off frame generation or else I'm gonna have to restart the game. Screw it, let's go to ray tracing ultra. Let's see what happens. Okay, so I guess I'm having some issues applying frame generation right now to Cyberpunk. That's a little goofy. I can't even tell if it's on right now. Hey man, chill, I don't want any beef. Anyways, I think this PC at $600, yes, you can run AAA. I mean, heck, if we were to just tone things down a little bit, and we were to go back to just ultra settings, no ray tracing turned on, your frame rate jumps up to 79, frame times go down. This is very much playable at 1080p. But still, this is a $600 gaming PC at the end of the day. Let's finish out with some Fortnite. And we are gonna finish things out with Fortnite on the glorious and beautiful performance mode API. Why do I choose to run Fortnite at the performance API and not DirectX 12? Well, the simple reason is that all you Fortniters only care about frame rate. You know, like, when you think about PC gaming, you think of graphics. You think of an experience that's, oh my goodness, that is more immersive than what console gaming can provide. But when it comes to Fortnite, I like to think if you play this game, just a part of your brain that maybe still exists from when we were all Neanderthals just kicks in and you're like, booga booga FPS. And that's it. You know, like graphics, you could care less. You just care about frame rate because all you Fortniters want those battle royales, you want those Fortnite battle passes, and yeah, you only care about frame rate because frame rate is there's a clear correlation between frame rate and skills, obviously. And unless you're hitting 230 FPS on Fortnite, you're good. And this is a $600 PC, so obviously we gotta make it seem like you're a pro. Oh, I see somebody. Oh, yeah. Let's... Oh, darn. All right, let's get out of here. Ooh, we're getting some good hits. Nah, don't run away. You can't build. This is no build mode. Oh, there we go. You know, I'm pretty happy. That's why I like no build mode. You're forced to fight. Like what I'm about to do. Oh, got no ammo. No, I gotta run. Actually, JK, you wanna, let's do this. Yo, these kids, they don't know. They haven't developed their frontal lobe yet. I'm sorry for them, you know? And you know, I'm pretty happy with that. Just about 300 FPS. Yeah, the game looks like crap, but I just gave my reasons for why you want to run performance mode on Fortnite. Not a game of graphics, it's a game of numbers. Let's go ahead and close out the video. Okay, so what are my final thoughts on this $600 gaming PC? I actually think it's not that half bad. I would be much more comfortable building this than say my previous $500 gaming PC. Reason being, the Radeon RX 6650 XT is just a really solid graphics card under $300. It does offer the most FPS per dollar of any graphics card right now, brand new, under $300. More than the RX 7600, more than the RTX 4060, and more than the ARC A750, and definitely more than the Intel Arc A770. And that's really the trick behind this PC. Get a 6650 XT and get it paired with an $80 Ryzen 5 5600 brand new from AliExpress, which again, you totally want to check one out from that AliExpress link that I have linked in my PCBuilds.gg link, where you can get one brand new for $80. It's just way too good of a value value, it's pretty much the meta right now for any brand new gaming PC build under $700. It's just way too inexpensive of a CPU that offers way too much performance for its price. And yeah, sure, you can grab it from Newegg or Amazon for $110, but hey, you can save up to $30 to $40 buying it through AliExpress, which will give you some extra budget to then buy an aftermarket CPU cooler of your choice, like what I've done here, although I definitely took some liberties with it, because again, this is a spare aftermarket CPU cooler from Enermax that I've yet to use, and it's the last one in my inventory, so I'm glad I can finally get rid of it. But still, you can choose whatever aftermarket CPU cooler you want, and you can easily overclock the Ryzen 5 5600 in this PC if you really want it. Other than that, as you can see, I have made some visual changes to the build. I have added some sleeve power supply cables just because I could. I wanted to see if they would look good in this black and white kind of look inside this PC, and I think it looks not that half bad, but I did add 3 front 120mm ARGB fans from Geometric Future, which is a really cool new up-and-coming PC brand that I would say definitely check out if you're looking at getting some thicker 120mm fans. Only thing I'd caution is that they do get loud, so make sure you play with the fan curves in your BIOS or in any sort of software, knowing that, because these are kind of like some tuned server fans, but for retail PC builds like this. So they are some pretty cool fans. Definitely overkill for this kind of PC build, but nonetheless, yeah, I think this is a pretty nice $600 gaming PC build. Just about the only thing I do is I'd go ahead and grab a 3-pack of ARGB fans to put on the front of this PC case, and you're solid. You're gonna be spending $600, I think, really well. So again, if you like to build this PC, I have a full build list for it in my PC build.gg link. And if you enjoy PC build videos like this, you probably want to subscribe to the Scattervault channel, because not only am I known for them, but I do plan to put out more before the end of the year. And finally, if you did enjoy this video, a like would be cool. I'm just saying. With all that said, thank you so much for watching, and this is the Scattervault channel, signing out.